everybody, and welcome to another season of Hot Takes. My name is TJ, and I'm joined by, of course, co-host from across the pond. It's Soddle. Soddle, new season, same us. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I don't think you've ever described me as lovely before, but honestly, I feel lovely. I'm positively glowing after the week of Grandmasters we've had. I was posting on Twitter that this was, one of the best feelings I've had after casting a week of Grandmasters that I've had in a long time. So I'm ready to get stuck in and see if we can wrap it up with an equally fantastic feeling round of Hot Takes, TJ.
Should be a good one, and of course, Soddle, the expansion that we're playing on right now is called United in Stormwind. And because of this, Soddle and I are going to put aside our differences, and we're going to unite. And instead of the old format of Hot Takes, where we're going to argue back and forth, we're going to give out points, super cutthroat, Soddle and I are just going to talk about some hot takes about Grandmasters, have a nice, healthy discussion about the game and the players that we so dearly love. And so that's going to be our format for Hot Takes moving forward. Of course, everybody out there, let us know how you feel about it. Two great minds going at it, talking about the stuff that's important to us. I think that's just what life is all about. So how we're going to do it is Soddle and I have both brought our own hot takes to the table. He has one, I have one, and then we've worked on one together. And we're just going to talk about things, talk about some Hearthstone. So without further ado, Soddle, why don't you introduce our first hot take?
I'm just realizing now this could end up being extremely boring if we just don't disagree on any of the topics that we've come up with, because we're not forcing ourselves to disagree. But we will. I think we'll be fine. Yeah. My selection for this week is... I think most people will find this very predictable if they follow me on Twitter, and if they don't, go do that, COL_Sottle. This week of Grandmasters showcased the highest skill cap that we have ever seen in GM. That is my take. I think this metagame is the nuts. I know that we are expecting some nerfs to come in very quickly, but I think where we've landed in terms of it being an aggro combo meta and a meta where games are happening very quickly, I think is a good platform to showcase the skill of these players. And I think, honestly, when you canvass opinion on this as well, you do tend to see a lot of high-level players saying, I really like this metagame. I posted kind of an informal poll on Twitter just to field some opinions. And, when you look at the split, there's a lot of well-known pro players in there, Orange, Lambie series, Meaty, so on and so forth, who are saying, yeah, I really like this meta. I think it's very skill testing. I think that absolutely is the case, but I think a lot of the skill is hidden from the more casual audience who kind of look at it and think there's a lot of non-games going on, which I think is why I'm phrasing this very specifically. For a ladder metagame across all ranks, across all different types of Hearthstone players, this might be frustrating for some people to play in, but when it comes to competition, playing in, spectating, and commentating Grandmasters, I think this is a fantastic metagame.
Well, I will agree with you to an extent, right? I am of the camp that's a pretty popular camp of I hated the metagame at first. It was very fast. When I didn't know what I was doing, I was just losing, and I thought that there was nothing I could do about it. But if you really take a step back and look, I think there's just as many non-games in this metagame as there has been previously, right? And specifically as there was in the last metagame that we had, even though it was much slower, a lot of priest. The games were disguised as these long control battles, but then they came down to who opened better boxes at the end of the game. And so you just had to wait 30 minutes to realize that it was a non-game instead of just having that after 5 or 6 minutes. So I do think, however, that some of the combo decks are a little too fast, right? I think that skill expression is great, but when you don't have that many turns or actions to express that skill, sometimes it can get lost. And so, if the combo decks, their maximum potential was just 1 or 2 turns slower, and you could get some type of control into the metagame, right? Then I think that it would be even better, and we could highlight and showcase skill a little bit better as commentators as well. So I do love the metagame. It took me a while to come around to it. I do love it, but I think that there's a little bit of room for some differences, some changes, what have you. I will present my hot take that I brought to the table this week, and I know you're going to love this one, Sottle. You're going to absolutely love this one. D6 Warlock isn't as good as the top players think it is.
Good luck, man. Go on.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's seen the clips, right? Bly's posted a clip where he killed someone on 5 with 0 quest completion, went through all the actions. And sure, that is a possibility, right? But most players, even most Grandmasters, which is what this hot take is all about, cannot execute that, at least for the time being. And we've seen that even really good combo players with decent opening hands, like Frozen in the Americas, for example, had early combo, lots of potential with the hand, and either the panouts weren't that good, he whiffed on draw in the middle of his combo, and he got 0-3'd with the D6 Warlock, right? And I think that the failure rate of the deck is too high to consider it like a top 3 deck at the moment, and that's putting aside execution, right? So I just don't think people are saying it's the best deck. A lot of the top Grandmasters are saying it's the best deck in the game or the best deck that's ever existed. Some players are throwing out there. I just don't think it is.
TJ, you've timed this poorly. All right, like we'll go through the obvious stuff. Basically every rank 1 legend since the expansion has come out, certainly in the last week or so, has been held by a player playing this deck, right? Gabby got it, then Bly's overtook him, then Xerius took it back, all playing this version of the deck, and that's across Europe, Americas, and China in Gabby's case as well. Just recently, today, as might still be happening at the moment as we are live, Xerios is streaming and was on a 19-game win streak with the deck in top 100 Legend on Americas, trying to get rank 1 on Americas. His entire stream so far was like 23-2 with the deck overall. Like, you are not arguing that the deck is not good enough. You're arguing that the players are not good enough, which is not the take that you've set out. The deck, going back to the word that was in my first take, skill cap, that's where we are. That doesn't mean that like everyone's there already. That's the theoretical possible level that the players can reach. And that's what D6 Warlock has. It has an incredibly high skill cap, skill ceiling. And there are very few players in the world that are anywhere near that anymore. You can count them on one hand. Given time, given no nerfs and this deck hanging around, more and more players will reach that cap, and every word you just said for the last minute or so will look idiotic, TJ.
All right. Well, Sottle and I did come up with this hot take together.
Yeah.
Though we haven't talked about which side of the fence we lean on. But the final hot take is this season has the best new class of Grandmasters of any season in history across all 3 regions.
Yep. And honestly, I think we are going to largely end up agreeing on this. Like you say, we haven't talked about it, but I've got to feel, because I think it's kind of hard to argue with, right? Like, this is a very, very tepid take overall, I would say. I think a lot of people will be inclined to agree with this because, I'll start with Europe because that's where I live, right? That's where we're going to go. And just Gabby coming in, of course. There it is. Ring the Gabby bell. Yes, he said the word. He's done the thing. But
Gabby did it.
But then Floki coming in as well, who, I tried to do the job this week of because I feel bad that Floki's got overshadowed by things going on around him, because his stats and his performance through Masters tours to come into Grandmasters are as incredible as anyone outside of a couple of freak performances that we've seen that have overshadowed him. And then outside of that, Jay, I think is very solid. Perhaps not the level of expectation on Jay that I have on those other 2 players, but still very, very solid overall. And then who's the last one? Some unknown player that I always forget about that's our 4th GM. Oh, Bunny Hopper, that's right. Okay, he's trash. We can forget about him. Yeah, he doesn't really make the point, so we'll just select around him, right? We won't include him in the data because obviously Bunny Hopper's trash.
Yeah, and this wouldn't be hot takes if I didn't have a caveat to this. I do think that in the past we've had, after the first week, been like, wow, these new GMs are pretty good, and then they kind of just they ride the pine and they just kind of sit back. They don't put in the work necessary, and they fall off hard, right? It's one thing to want to have a good first showing in Grandmasters and you qualified, that was your dream, right? But it's another thing to just be hungrier to prove yourself and win, and like ultimately get to the world championship and have a shot at it. So I think that complacency has been an issue with not only the new GMs but even some of the old ones. And I'd like to see these players drive home on the promise that they've kind of shown and keep the consistency up and keep working hard, because that's what we need. We need these new players to come in and challenge some of the older ones and say, hey, your spot in Grandmasters isn't safe, right? We're coming for you. And I have hope for the future. Sato, united in Stormwind, all of us.
Amen, brother. I'll drink to that.
Yeah, me too. Some water. Delicious.
I don't have anything I can actually drink that doesn't have big fat branding on it. So.
Stay hydrated out there, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we came in longer for this first episode than we expected, but we had some good discussion, Saddle. And that does it for our first episode of the brand new format of Hot Takes. So Saddle, thanks for joining me once again. Your insight is appreciated. For once in history, you don't lose Hot Takes because no one loses.
What? Oh my goodness. A show with no losers. Well, 2 losers, but no one that actually loses the game. Yeah, I suppose that's reasonable.
Yes. Yeah. 2 losers, but no game to lose at.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys tune in to Grandmasters this upcoming week, and then we have the Masters Tour, Silver Moon, following that in the week after. So we got some incredible Hearthstone coming up. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for more Hot Takes.